Have you ever walked away from someone feeling like your soul was drained? Like a piece of you was stolen without a trace? What if I told you that Carl Jung, the master of human psychology, warned that someone is secretly feeding on your light, and you might not even know it? Welcome to Jung's Psyche Hub, where we dive deep into the shadow realm of the mind. In this video, we're exposing the chilling truth about energy parasites, the hidden predators who thrive on the emotional energy of empaths like you. Through Carl Jung's forbidden wisdom, you'll learn how to spot them, stop them, and protect the sacred light that makes you extraordinary. Stay with us until the end to discover Carl Jung's powerful method to transform from prey to sovereign without losing your gift of empathy. Ready to reclaim your energy? Let's dive in. Picture this. You're at a coffee shop, laughing with a friend, when suddenly you feel a wave of exhaustion crash over you. Your chest tightens, your mind fogs up, and you can't pinpoint why. You were fine just moments ago. Sound familiar? If you're an empath, this isn't just random fatigue. It's a sign that someone might be feeding on your light. In this chapter, we're diving into Carl Jung's chilling discovery about energy parasites, the invisible predators who thrive on the emotional energy of empaths like you. By the end, you'll know exactly who these parasites are, why they're drawn to you, and how to spot them before they drain you dry. Let's uncover the hidden danger. So, what exactly are energy parasites? Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist who mapped the depths of the human psyche, stumbled upon a disturbing phenomenon in his private notes. He observed that certain people, often charming, wounded, or seemingly in need, have an unconscious ability to siphon the emotional and spiritual energy of others. These aren't cartoonish villains twirling mustaches. They're co-workers, friends, partners, or even family members who leave you feeling depleted after every interaction. Carl Jung called this dynamic a psychological exchange, where one person's shadow feeds on another's light. For empaths, whose emotional sensitivity burns brighter than most, you're their perfect target. Why you as an empath? You have a gift, a heightened ability to feel what others feel, to read the unspoken emotions in a room, to carry the weight of someone else's pain as if it's your own. Carl Jung believed this gift stems from what he called the archetype of the wounded healer. Empaths often develop their sensitivity as a survival mechanism, fine-tuned in childhood to navigate chaotic or emotionally unstable environments. Think of Emma, a 2-year-old graphic designer. Growing up, Emma learned to read her mother's moods to avoid conflict. She could sense a storm brewing from a single glance. That hyper-awareness kept her safe as a child. But as an adult, it's made her a beacon for those who thrive on emotional energy. Here's where Carl Jung's insight gets unsettling. Energy parasites aren't always malicious. They're often people who've lost touch with their own inner light, people whose emotional wounds have left them psychologically incomplete. Carl Jung wrote, "The shadow is a living part of the personality and wants to live with it in some form. For these parasites, their shadow, the unhealed, unconscious parts of themselves, hungers for the wholeness they sense in you. They don't set out to harm you. They're just drawn to your warmth like moths to a flame. But here's the kicker. Their need for your energy is insatiable. The more you give, the more they take, leaving you exhausted, anxious, or even doubting your own reality. Let's look at Emma's story. Emma had a best friend, Rachel, who always seemed to be in crisis. Rachel would call late at night, unloading stories of heartbreak or workplace drama. Emma, being the empath she was, listened patiently, offering advice and emotional support. But after every call, Emma felt like she'd run a marathon. Her body ached, Her mind was foggy, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Rachel, on the other hand, seemed energized, even grateful, saying, "I don't know what I'd do without you." Carl Jung would have recognized this as the hallmark of an energy parasite. They leave you drained while they walk away recharged. Carl Jung's genius was in seeing this as more than just a bad relationship dynamic. It's an archetypal pattern. In his work on the collective unconscious, he described how certain personalities are drawn to others to fill their inner voids. Energy parasites sense your emotional availability, your willingness to listen, your instinct to heal. They don't just stumble into your life by accident. They're pulled toward you because your light shines so brightly. Judith Orloff, a modern psychiatrist and empath herself, backs this up with research on mirror neurons. Your brain is wired to absorb the emotions of others, making you a natural caregiver. But for energy parasites, that's not a gift. It's an opportunity. Here's where it gets even darker. Energy parasites don't just take your energy, they make you feel like it's your duty to give it. Carl Jung observed that they project their emptiness onto you, subtly convincing you that their pain is your responsibility. Ever had someone say, "You're the only one who gets me," or "I need you right now"? Those words can feel like a compliment, but they're often a hook. They activate your empathy, pulling you into a cycle where you give more than you can afford. Emma fell into this trap with Rachel. She thought she was being a good friend, but in reality, she was being drained by someone who had learned to survive by feeding on her light. So, how do you spot an energy parasite before they leave you running on empty? Carl Jung emphasized the importance of listening to your body's signals. Your empathic nature makes you a human radar for energy shifts. After being around an energy parasite, you might feel sudden fatigue, emotional overwhelm, or a vague sense of unease. Your body knows before your mind does. For Emma, it was the tightness in her chest after Rachel's calls. For you, it might be a headache, a racing heart, or that unshakable feeling that you're carrying someone else's baggage. Here's a practical tip. Start noticing how you feel before and after interactions with certain people. Keep a journal. If you can, do you feel lighter, inspired, or energized? Or do you feel heavy, confused, or drained? Carl Jung believed that empaths have an innate ability to sense what he called feeling-toned complexes, the energetic signatures of others. Trusting those signals is your first line of defense. If someone consistently leaves you feeling less like yourself, that's not a coincidence, it's a warning. By now, you're probably thinking of someone in your life who fits this pattern. Maybe it's a friend who always needs saving, a partner who leans on you for every emotional crisis, or a coworker who monopolizes your time with their drama. The good news: recognizing the problem is the first step to protecting your light. In the next chapter, we'll break down the exact tactics energy parasites use to drain you and how they've mastered the art of turning your compassion into their fuel. Stick with us to uncover their playbook and take back your power. Have you ever wondered how someone can leave you feeling so empty, so fast, without you even seeing it coming? In the last chapter, we uncovered Carl Jung's chilling discovery about energy parasites, people who unconsciously feed on the emotional light of empaths like you. But how exactly do they do it? In this chapter, we're pulling back the curtain on their playbook, the four-stage process they use to drain your energy, disguised as connection, love, or even friendship. By the end, you'll know their tactics inside out and how to spot them before they hook you. Let's dive into the shadow realm and expose how they feed on your light. Carl Jung observed that energy parasites don't just stumble into your life. They follow a precise, almost predatory process to siphon your emotional energy. He didn't call it a feeding process in his notes, but his clinical work revealed a pattern so consistent, it's like a script. I've broken it down into 4 stages: light recognition, wound display, empathy activation, and depletion normalization. Each stage is designed to pull you deeper into their web, turning your compassion into their fuel. Let's break it down, step by step, with a real-life story to make it crystal clear. Stage 1. Light recognition. Energy parasites have an uncanny ability to spot empaths from a mile away. Carl Jung noted that certain personalities, often those with narcissistic traits, can sense your emotional depth like a shark smells blood in the water. They don't need a resume of your life story. They feel your warmth, your openness, your willingness to listen. It's like you're glowing, and they're drawn to that light. Think of Mark, a 8-year-old teacher with a natural gift for making people feel seen. At a networking event, he met Sarah, a charismatic colleague who instantly zeroed in on him. She complimented his kindness, saying, "You're so easy to talk to." Within minutes, she was sharing her life's struggles, and Mark felt an instant connection. What he didn't realize was that Sarah had already clocked him as an empath, someone whose light she could feed on. Stage 2. Wound display. Once they've identified you, energy parasites don't come on strong with demands. Instead, they lead with vulnerability. They share their pain, their trauma, their struggles, stories that tug at your heartstrings. Carl Jung described this as a projection of the shadow, where their unhealed wounds become a hook to draw you in. Sarah, for example, told Mark about her toxic ex, her stressful job, and her childhood insecurities. She framed it as trust, saying, "I've never told anyone this before." Mark, being an empath, I felt honored to be her confidant. He wanted to help, to fix, to heal. But this wasn't about connection, it was about setting the stage for extraction. The wound display makes you feel special, but it's really a trap to activate your empathy. Stage 3. Empathy activation. Here's where the real feeding begins. Once your compassion is engaged, energy parasites start creating crises that demand your emotional labor. They call you at odd hours with emergencies, lean on you for endless advice, or make you feel like you're their only lifeline. Carl Jung observed that empaths often mistake being needed for being loved. For Mark, this looked like Sarah texting him daily with new dramas. Her boss was unfair. Her friends betrayed her. Her life was falling apart. Each time, Mark dropped everything to listen, to reassure, to fix. He felt like he was making a difference. But in reality, Sarah was siphoning his energy. She never reciprocated, never asked about his day. The more he gave, the more she took, leaving him emotionally exhausted, but convinced it was his role to be her savior. Stage 4. Depletion normalization. This is the most insidious stage. Energy parasites don't just drain you. They convince you that feeling drained is normal. They make you believe that exhaustion equals love, that your overwhelm is just part of being a highly sensitive person. Carl Jung called this a form of shadow projection, where their emptiness becomes your burden. Sarah, for instance, would tell Mark, "You're so strong for handling all this," or "I don't know how I'd survive without you." These words made him feel valued, but they also normalized his fatigue. He started doubting his own instincts, thinking, "Maybe I'm just too sensitive." In truth, Sarah had mastered the art of making her emotional chaos his responsibility. She wasn't healing, she was feeding. Let's pause for a moment. Does this sound like someone in your life, maybe a friend who always needs you to fix their problems? a partner who leans on you for every emotional crisis, or a family member who makes their pain your duty. Carl Jung's insight here is revolutionary. This isn't random. It's a deliberate, unconscious process that exploits your greatest strength, your empathy. The scary part, it feels like connection. It feels like love. It feels like you're doing the right thing. But your body knows better. That fatigue, that brain fog, that tightness in your chest, those are your signals that you're being drained. Here's a real-world example to drive it home. Consider Lisa, a 5-year-old nurse who prided herself on being everyone's rock. Her co-worker, Tom, always seemed to be in a crisis. He'd corner her during breaks, unloading stories of his chaotic life, divorce, financial stress, you name it. Lisa felt compelled to listen, to offer advice, to be the good friend. But after every conversation, she felt like a shell of herself. Tom, on the other hand, walked away lighter, even joking. "You're my therapist." Lisa didn't see it at the time. But Tom was an energy parasite, using her empathy to offload his emotional baggage while giving nothing back. Carl Jung's warning is clear: energy parasites thrive because empaths don't recognize the feeding process until it's too late. But here's the good news: you can learn to see it coming. Start paying attention to those moments when someone's story feels too heavy, too one-sided, too urgent. Notice when you're giving more than you're getting. Trust your body's signals when you feel drained after an interaction. These are your clues that you're caught in their web. So, now you know how energy parasites operate. But why are empaths such easy targets? In the next chapter, we'll dig into the childhood roots of your sensitivity and why your greatest gift can also make you vulnerable. Stay with us to uncover the origins of your empathic power and how it's being used against you. Have you ever felt like your empathy is both your greatest strength and your biggest weakness? Like it draws people to you, but also leaves you open to being drained? In the last chapter, we expose the 4-stage feeding process that energy parasites use to siphon your light. But why are empaths like you such easy targets in this chapter? We're diving into Carl Jung's profound insights about why empaths are so vulnerable, and it all traces back to your childhood. By the end, you'll understand how your gift of sensitivity was forged, why it makes you a beacon for energy parasites, and how to start reclaiming your power. Let's step into the past and uncover the roots of your empathic nature. Carl Jung believed that our deepest traits, including empathy, are shaped by the crucible of our early years. For empaths, this often means growing up in environments that were chaotic, emotionally unstable, or unpredictable. Carl Jung's concept of the wounded healer archetype is key here. Empaths develop their heightened sensitivity as a survival mechanism, a way to navigate turbulent waters. Think of it like this: you were the child who could read every micro-expression, sense every mood shift, and absorb every unspoken tension in the room. Why? Because your survival depended on it. That hyper-awareness kept you safe, but it also wired you to become a magnet for those who feed on emotional energy as an adult. Let's meet Lily, a 4-year-old therapist, who's the textbook definition of an empath. Growing up, Lily's home was a storm of emotions. Her father struggled with alcoholism, and her mother was often overwhelmed, swinging between anger and despair. As a child, Lily learned to tiptoe around her parents' moods. She could tell if her father was about to explode just by the way he set his coffee cup down. She knew when her mother needed comfort before a single tear fell. This wasn't just intuition, it was a survival skill. By reading the room, Lily could avoid conflict, soothe tensions, or even take on her parents' pain to keep the peace. Carl Jung would say that Lily was forging her wounded healer archetype, a gift that helped her survive. but left her vulnerable later in life. Here's where science backs up Carl Jung's wisdom. Modern research, like that of Dr. Judith Orloff, points to mirror neurons, the brain's empathy engines. These neurons fire more intensely in empaths, causing you to literally feel the emotions of others as if they were your own. For Lily, this meant she didn't just notice her parents' pain, she absorbed it. Her brain was wired to mirror their fear, anger, or sadness, making her the emotional glue that held her family together. But there's a catch. This same wiring makes empaths like you a beacon for energy parasites. Your ability to feel so deeply, to care so fiercely, signals to others that you're a source of emotional nourishment. Carl Jung took this idea further, connecting it to his concept of the collective unconscious. He believed that empaths carry an archetypal energy, a radiant light that others, especially those disconnected from their own emotions, are instinctively drawn to. Energy parasites aren't just random people in your life. They're pulled toward you because your sensitivity fills a void they can't access on their own. It's not your fault. It's a byproduct of how you were shaped. But here's the painful truth. The same gift that saved you as a child can become a trap as an adult. Your childhood taught you to prioritize others' emotions over your own, to be the fixer, the healer, the one who makes everything okay. And energy parasites exploit that instinct. Let's see how this played out for Lily. As an adult, she attracted a string of relationships that felt eerily familiar. Her best friend, Mia, was always in crisis breakups, job losses, family drama. Lily would spend hours listening, offering advice, and even cancelling her own plans to be there for Mia. Sound familiar? It's the same pattern from her childhood. Lily was still playing the role of the emotional caretaker, absorbing Mia's pain to keep the relationship stable, but after every interaction, Lee felt drained, anxious, and oddly guilty if she ever tried to pull back. Mia would say things like, "You're the only one who understands me," echoing the unspoken expectations of Lily's parents. Carl Jung would recognize this as a shadow dynamic. Lily's childhood wounds were unconsciously recreating the same draining patterns in her adult life. Here's where Carl Jung's insight gets transformative. He believed that understanding your wounds is the first step to healing them. Your empathy isn't a flaw, it's a superpower forged in the fire of your past. But without awareness, it can make you vulnerable to those who sense your light and want to consume it. Energy parasites don't just stumble into your life. They're drawn to the part of you that feels responsible for fixing others. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." For empaths, this means recognizing that your tendency to take on others' pain isn't just kindness. It's a learned behavior from childhood that energy parasites exploit. So, how do you start breaking this cycle? The first step is awareness. Start noticing when you're slipping into that old role of the fixer. Ask yourself, am I helping because I want to? Or because I feel I have to? Do I feel guilty saying no to someone's emotional demands? These questions shine a light on the childhood patterns that make you vulnerable. For Lily, this meant realizing that her need to save Mia was tied to her childhood role as her family's peacemaker. Once she saw the connection, she could start setting boundaries without feeling like she was betraying her identity. Here's a practical tip. Try journaling about your childhood. Write down moments when you felt you had to manage someone else's emotions to feel safe. Maybe it was soothing an angry parent, comforting a sibling, or staying quiet to avoid conflict. Then, look at your current relationships. Do any of them feel like echoes of those early dynamics? This exercise isn't about blame. It's about understanding how your empathic gift was shaped and how it's being used against you now. Your empathy is a beautiful, powerful gift. but it's also what makes you a target. Energy parasites sense that you've been trained to prioritize others' needs, to absorb their pain, to be their emotional lifeline. But here's the good news. Once you understand where your vulnerability comes from, you can start protecting your light. In the next chapter, we'll explore how your compassion can become a trap and how energy parasites turn your greatest strength into their weapon. Stay with us to uncover the moment your empathy becomes a prison and how to break free. Have you ever poured your heart into helping someone, only to feel like you're the one falling apart? As an empath, your compassion is your superpower, but it's also the key that energy parasites use to unlock your energy. In the last chapter, we traced your empathic gift back to your childhood, revealing why you're a beacon for those who feed on your light. Now, we're diving deeper into Carl Jung's warning. Your compassion can become a prison if you don't see how it's being weaponized. In this chapter, we'll uncover how energy parasites turn your greatest strength into their most powerful tool, and how you can break free without losing your heart. Let's step into the trap and find the way out. Carl Jung observed that empaths don't just attract energy parasites by chance, they're targeted because their compassion is so boundless, so instinctive, that it's easy to exploit. He described a dynamic I call the empathy trap, where your natural desire to heal others is twisted into a cycle of emotional depletion. The scariest part, it feels like love, connection, or duty. Carl Jung's concept of shadow projection is at the heart of this. Energy parasites don't just take your energy, they project their inner emptiness onto you, convincing you that their pain is your responsibility. This is what I call the shadow flip. They make you feel like you're the one failing if you don't keep giving. Let's meet David, a 30-year-old writer with a heart as big as his dreams. David's girlfriend, Claire, was charming and intense, always sharing stories of her struggles, family issues, career setbacks. You name it. David, being an empath, felt compelled to be her rock. He'd stay up late, listening to her vent, offer advice, and even put his own writing on hold to help her through her latest crisis. But after every conversation, David felt drained, like his creativity and joy had been sucked dry. Claire, meanwhile, seemed to thrive, saying things like, "You're my safe place." "David, I'd be lost without you." Those words made him feel needed, but they also locked him in a cycle where his exhaustion felt like proof of his love. Here's how the empathy trap works. Energy parasites don't just ask for your support, they frame it as a test of your character. Carl Jung noted that they use subtle manipulation to make you feel like your worth depends on how much you give. For David, Claire would say things like, "No one else understands me like you do," or, "If you really cared, you'd be here for me." These weren't just compliments, they were hooks. They activated David's empathy, making him feel that saying no would mean he was selfish or cruel. Carl Jung called this a form of shadow projection reversal. The parasite's emptiness becomes your burden, and your compassion becomes their weapon. The trap tightens when energy parasites normalize your depletion. They convince you that feeling drained is just part of being a caring person. Claire would tell David, "You're so strong for handling my chaos," or, "This is what real love looks like." Over time, David started believing that his fatigue, his anxiety, even his loss of passion were normal parts of a deep relationship. He ignored the signals. His body was screaming headaches, sleepless nights, a constant knot in his stomach, because Claire made him feel like those were signs of his devotion. This is the most insidious part of the empathy trap. It makes you question your own instincts, convincing you that your pain is your purpose. Carl Jung's genius was in seeing this as more than just a bad dynamic. It's a psychological hijacking. He wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. For empaths, this means recognizing that the trap isn't just about the parasite. It's about the part of you that feels compelled to keep giving. That part often comes from what Carl Jung called the shadow, the unconscious beliefs you carry. Like I'm only valuable if I'm useful, or I have to fix others to be loved. Energy parasites. Sense this and exploit it, turning your compassion into a prison where you're locked in by your own need to be needed. Let's look at another example. Sarah, a 40-year-old social worker, had a co-worker, Mike, who always leaned on her for emotional support. Mike would share his personal dramas, divorce, stress, insecurities, during lunch breaks. Framing Sarah as his go-to person, she felt obligated to listen, even when it left her emotionally spent and unable to focus on her own work. Mike would say, "You're so good at this. Sarah, you should be a therapist." Those words fed her sense of purpose. But they also kept her trapped in a cycle of giving without receiving. When Sarah tried to set boundaries, Mike would guilt-trip her, saying, "I thought you were someone I could count on." That guilt was the lock on her prison door. So, how do you escape the empathy trap? Carl Jung's first step is awareness. You have to see the trap before you can break free. Start noticing when someone's demands make you feel like your worth is tied to your sacrifice. Ask yourself, am I giving because I want to? Or because I'm afraid of letting them down? Do I feel guilty for prioritizing my own needs? These questions shine a light on the shadow beliefs that keep you stuck. For David, this meant realizing that his need to be Claire's safe place was tied to his fear of being unlovable. Once he saw that, he could start questioning why he felt obligated to carry her pain. Here's a practical tip. Try the pause and check method. The next time someone leans on you emotionally, pause before responding. Check in with your body. Do you feel tense, drained, or anxious? Check in with your heart. Does this feel like a mutual exchange? Or are you giving more than you're getting? This simple act of pausing can help you break the automatic cycle of overgiving. For Sarah, pausing before engaging with Mike's drama gave her the space to realize she was being used as an emotional dumping ground. She started saying, "I hear you, but I need some time for myself right now." It felt uncomfortable at first, but it was the first step toward freedom. The empathy trap is powerful because it feels so noble. You think you're being kind, loving, or strong, but you're actually being drained by someone who's learned to weaponize your heart. The good news, you can escape without losing your compassion. In the next chapter, we'll reveal Carl Jung's revolutionary light method, a step-by-step guide to protect your energy and become a sovereign empath who shares their light on their own terms. Stay with us to discover how to guard your gift and reclaim your power. You've seen how energy parasites feed on your light, turning your compassion into their fuel. You've uncovered why your empathic nature makes you a target, rooted in the wounds of your childhood. Now, it's time to take back your power. In this final chapter, we're diving into Carl Jung's revolutionary approach to protect your energy and transform you from prey to a sovereign empath, a person who shares their light on their own terms. I call it the light method, a 5-step guide inspired by Carl Jung's wisdom to help you guard your gift without losing your heart. By the end, you'll have the tools to break free from energy vampires and shine brighter than ever. Let's light the way to your sovereignty. Carl Jung believed that empaths don't need to dim their light to stay safe. They need to wield it consciously. His work on the collective unconscious and individuation shows that true power comes from understanding and mastering your inner world. The light method. Learn energy signatures. Integrate your shadow. Guard your energy. Honor your nature. Transform trauma gives you a roadmap to do just that. Each step builds on the last, turning your empathy from a vulnerability into a strength. Let's break it down with the story of Sarah, a 5-year-old artist who went from being drained to becoming a beacon of conscious compassion. Step 1. Learn energy signatures. Carl Jung emphasized that every person carries an energetic signature, what he called feeling-toned complexes. As an empath, you're a natural radar for these signals. Energy parasites leave you feeling drained, anxious, or heavy, while healthy connections leave you energized or at peace. Start paying attention to how people make you feel. Sarah, for example, noticed that her friend Mia's constant crises left her with a tight chest and foggy mind. She started journaling how she felt before and after interactions, spotting patterns that revealed Mia as an energy parasite. Try this. Keep a simple log of your energy levels around key people in your life. Does someone consistently leave you depleted? That's your body telling you to protect your light. Step 2. Integrate your shadow. Carl Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." For empaths, this means facing the shadow beliefs that make you vulnerable, like the need to be needed or the fear of being unlovable. Sarah realized her urge to fix Mia stemmed from a childhood belief that she had to earn love by being useful. She asked herself tough questions. Why do I feel responsible for others' pain? What am I avoiding by focusing on their problems, by journaling and reflecting? Sarah saw that her overgiving was tied to fear, not love. To integrate your shadow, try this. Write down one belief that drives your need to help others. Like, I'm only valuable if I'm saving someone. Then, challenge it with a new truth. Like, my worth is inherent, not earned. Step 3. Guard your energy. Carl Jung believed that protecting your energy is a spiritual responsibility, not selfishness. This means setting boundaries with energy parasites. Even when it feels uncomfortable, Sarah started saying no to Mia's late-night crisis calls. Politely but firmly, "I care about you, but I can't talk right now." At first, Mia pushed back, accusing Sarah of being distant, but Sarah held her ground. Realizing that her energy was sacred, here's a practical tip. Practice saying no in small ways. Start with low-stakes situations, like declining an extra task at work. Notice how it feels to prioritize your energy. Over time, you'll build the muscle to set boundaries with even the most manipulative parasites. Step 4. Honor your nature. Your empathy isn't a curse, it's a gift. Carl Jung's concept of individuation is about becoming who you truly are, not who others need you to be. Energy parasites are drawn to empaths who dim their light to make others comfortable. Sarah used to hide her sensitivity, thinking it made her too much. But once she embraced it as a strength, she stopped attracting people who exploited it. Try this. Write down 3 ways your empathy has helped others or yourself. Maybe it's how you comfort a friend or sense when someone needs support. Celebrate these as superpowers and commit to using them consciously, not reactively. Step 4. Transform trauma into wisdom, Carl Jung said. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For empaths, this means seeing your past wounds not as weaknesses, but as the forge of your strength. Sarah's childhood in a chaotic home taught her to read emotions, but it also left her vulnerable to energy parasites. By reflecting on her past, she turned that trauma into wisdom, learning to offer compassion without absorbing others' pain. Try this. Reflect on a childhood moment that shaped your empathy. How can that experience guide you to help others without sacrificing yourself? For Sarah, This meant volunteering her skills as an artist to inspire others, rather than draining herself in one-sided friendships. Sarah's transformation was profound. By applying the light method, she stopped being Mia's emotional crutch and started attracting reciprocal relationships. She set boundaries, embraced her sensitivity, and used her empathy to create art that uplifted others. She became a sovereign empath, someone who shares their light without letting it be consumed. You can do this too. Start small. Pick one step from the light method and practice it this week. Maybe it's noticing energy signatures or saying no to a draining request. Each step moves you closer to sovereignty, but here's Carl Jung's final warning when you start protecting your light. Energy parasites will push back. They might guilt-trip you, create bigger crises, or accuse you of being selfish. Sarah faced this when Mia called her cold for setting boundaries. Carl Jung called this the extinction, burst, a desperate attempt to regain access to your energy. Stay strong. Their reaction isn't about you, it's about their addiction to your light. The healthy people in your life will respect your boundaries and even celebrate your growth. You're not just protecting your energy, you're claiming your birthright as a conscious empath. In our outro, we'll wrap up with a powerful call to action, showing you how to live as a beacon of light that inspires others without being consumed. Stay with us to take the final step toward your energetic sovereignty and share your story with the world. Imagine a life where your light doesn't just survive, it thrives. A life where your empathy lifts others up without draining you dry. Where you shine as a sovereign empath, untouchable by energy parasites. That's the promise Carl Jung left us. And it's the journey we've taken together in this video, from uncovering the chilling tactics of those who feed on your light to tracing your empathic gift back to your childhood. We've exposed the truth. Your compassion is your superpower, but only if you protect it. Now, it's time to step into your power and let your light illuminate the world on your terms. Let's take a moment to reflect. You've learned how energy parasites operate, sneaking into your life with their wounds and crises, turning your kindness into their fuel. You've seen how your childhood shaped you into a beacon for their hunger, and how they trap you by making your exhaustion feel like love. But most importantly, you've discovered Carl Jung's light method, a roadmap to guard your energy, integrate your shadow, and transform your trauma into wisdom. Think of Sarah, the artist who broke free from her draining friend Mia. She didn't just survive, she became a force, using her empathy to create art that inspires others while protecting her own light. That's the future waiting for you. Here's the truth. Carl Jung wanted you to know your light is sacred. It's not here to be consumed by others' darkness. It's here to guide you toward wholeness, to light up your path and inspire those who can meet you as equals. Every boundary you set, every no you say, every moment you choose yourself is a step toward becoming a sovereign empath, and the world needs that version of you, the one who shines without fear, who loves without losing themselves, who heals without being depleted. So, here's your call to action. Right now, in the comments below, share one boundary you're ready to set to protect your light. Maybe it's saying no to a draining friend, stepping back from a one-sided relationship, or simply pausing to check your energy before giving it away. Your story could be the spark that helps another empath start their journey. And if this video resonated with you, hit that like button. It tells YouTube to share this message with more people like us. Don't forget to subscribe to Jung Psyche Hub and ring the bell for more insights on reclaiming your power through Jung's wisdom. Want to dive deeper? Check out our video on how to face your shadow, a beginner's guide to Carl Jung's Individuation, in the description below. Your light is too precious to be dimmed. Step into your sovereignty, and let's light up the world together. Thank you for being here. See you in the next dimension.